Let's talk about gyros. Welcome back to Sprung On Food. I'm your host, Kae Sprung. This season, we're talking about favorite foods, the history behind it, and the role it plays in the world today. Joining me today is comedian Colin Rourke. Colin, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, hello. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, I am so excited that you are here. You are a hilarious person, and I'm excited to tap into your favorite food, which happens to be gyros. Tell
Yes.
me all about your relationship with this food, why it's your favorite. Tell me all the things.
So I think my love for gyros started when I was in like middle school. My dad worked for a company in which he had to go to California. I grew up in Chicago, and he had to go to California like once a month for a week. And so my mom and I were the only people home at that time. And so kind of as a treat for ourselves, she would take us to this restaurant called Mickey's. And they had this like amazing gyro platter with like this massive side of fries. And I think it was my first time ever tasting gyros. And I was just like, whoa, this is so delicious. I loved like the pita that went with it. I loved all the sauces, the tomato, it all. And yeah, and it's just like, it's the one food that throughout my life, I have always kind of like come back to. There's obviously been new, different types of food that have been introduced to me, but it's the one that's like, yeah, that still hits every time I taste it.
Oh, I love that. Do we know if this restaurant is still operating?
Oh my God, I don't know. It would be in Tinley Park, Illinois, which is where I'm actually from. I'm from the south suburb of Chicago. So for anybody who's, upset at me of saying I'm from Chicago, I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago. But I don't know. I think I would imagine it is still there. I hope it's still there. But if it is, it's in Tinley Park.
Perfect. I'll check out afterwards, and
Okay.
if they are, we'll give them a shout out so that people can stop by for sure. Now that you are in New York, have you found any spots here that maybe are a close second or are kind of ranking right up there?
I haven't,
Oh
which
no.
has been so sad. I know. I haven't. I've struggled. I haven't found anything that I feel like compares, but I know it's out there. I mean, we're in New York City, so there's got to be great gyros somewhere.
Yes, you just have to set forth on the quest to find it. Maybe that can be your goal. It's kind of
There you go.
uplifting, so
Add
something
it
to
to the list.
something to look forward to. What do you think it was that made the one in Chicago so outrageously good that it has not been able to be matched just yet?
Oh, that's a
Do you
good
think it's
question.
like part because of the nostalgia that made it taste so good too, or like flavor wise, were they just like knocking it out of the park?
I mean, a little bit of both. I think definitely flavor wise. I think also like the texture of the gyro
Hmm.
was so interesting to me. How like the one side was really smooth, but on the I guess like the outer side, the exterior, whatever you would call it, is a little more rigid. I just liked that feeling in my mouth.
Okay.
And from the nostalgia perspective, I think it was we didn't grow up eating like a bunch of different ethnic foods. And so while Euros, isn't we're not going into the deep end here, but it was like fun that my mom and I had that together. And that was something that we always would do when my dad left. And I think when I get Euros today, it's like I'm doing it with my mom. My mom is still alive, but
Yes,
you know what I mean?
but from afar, long distance.
But from afar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can like FaceTime, show her the euro, be like, "We're doing it." She's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, great."
Yeah, and when we go home, whenever I'm back with her in Chicago, and it's just if we're together for some reason, it's just the two of us, we'll find a way to pitch euros as the meal for the night.
Oh, I love that. So this is,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a very special, delicious, nostalgic food. And of course, to better understand and appreciate our food, we've got to know where it came from. Today, we're taking a look into the history of the often mispronounced gyro, tracing its roots back to ancient empires, Ottoman innovations, Greek pride, and yes, the American street food boom that turned it into a late night staple. The name gyro comes from the Greek word gyros, meaning, Colin, can you take a guess of what it means?
Money?
Okay, I'm into it. That's technically not the right answer, but I like where your head's at.
I'm going the European style.
So it actually means turn or revolution, a direct reference to the way the meat is cooked, rotating slowly on a vertical spit. To understand the gyro, we have to talk about the spit, the vertical rotisserie where layers of meat rotate slowly beside a flame, crisping up on the outside while staying tender inside. But put a little pin in that and let's rewind even further. The act of skewering meat and rotating it over fire is as old as fire itself, prehistoric really. Some of the earliest archaeological evidence of spit roasting meat dates back to ancient Greece itself. Excavations at Akrotiri on the island of Santorini, buried in volcanic ash in the 17th century BCE, uncovered stone cooking supports that were thought to have been used for turning skewers of meat, essentially an early spit. By the classical period in 5th century BCE, the Greeks had a clear term for it, ovelos, a spit or skewer used to cook meat over flames. But the true innovation of the vertical rotisserie came much later, most likely in the mid-19th century Ottoman Empire. While pinpointing the exact inventor is tricky since culinary innovation doesn't tend to come with footnotes, it's widely believed that the method originated in what's now modern-day Turkey. One of the most frequently cited originators is Iskender Efendi of Bursa, a city in northwestern Turkey. According to family records and the lore surrounding the now famous Iskender kebab, Iskender's family began cooking meat vertically around 1867, adjusting the orientation of the spit so that the fat from the upper layers would naturally baste the meat below, creating that combination of crispy edges and juicy centers. This was a revolutionary technique. Unlike horizontal spit roasting, the vertical method used gravity and self-basting to its advantage and allowed meat to be cooked in compact spaces like market stalls and city kitchens. This eventually became known as doner kebab, from the Turkish word dönmek, meaning to turn or to rotate. From there, the technique spread outward and across regions. Colin, it took just flipping the orientation of something of this spit to kind of revolutionize it. Has there ever been something that you've adjusted or tweaked in some capacity to improve it, if nothing else, for just yourself?
I would say coffee is
Okay,
something that
explain.
uh, well, can I first say that that was so informative, and I
Oh,
was so entranced in the way that you spoke about that.
oh, well, we have more
I
to go, but thank you. Yes.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Yes, I didn't drink coffee up until I was maybe 26. I'm 31 now, and so all through college, I really struggled with, like, staying awake,
Oh,
and I couldn't stay awake in classes, and, like, I was actually so scared to enter the job market because the idea of, like, being awake from 9 to 5, like, I couldn't do it, and I didn't understand how other people were doing it, and then I started drinking coffee, and that
uh-huh.
changed my life. It really did.
You were like, oh, this is a secret that was not so secret, but I just
Right,
wasn't doing it.
exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
but I
and
started off with coffees, that were like, I'll have a latte with, like, lavender and, an extra
oh,
shot of whipped cream.
okay.
But now I'm less milk as we go on.
So you've graduated in that direction. I can very much appreciate that. I think I've been drinking. I'm a veteran coffee drinker, so I've had my fair share. But when I first started drinking it, I definitely
Mhm.
did, like the flavored creamer and
Yeah,
sugar. And then I don't want to call it graduating because I feel like I don't yuck anybody's yum. Like if you, that's how you love it and whatever, like live. But I now will only drink like black coffee. And then if
mm,
it's maybe like a midday thing and I feel like I want another one, I'll be like, okay, we'll do like a little milk in there, like a cappuccino or something fancy. But
there
typically,
you
yeah, it's just like black.
Yeah, I do. I'm on cortados now. That's, like, that's
Ooh.
my kick.
Look
Yeah.
at you. Okay,
Yeah.
in a very short amount of time, you've really skipped some steps here. This is fantastic.
Yes. Well, I felt like, I think what scared me was, I mean, as I got older, I'm sure everyone who's listening knows your body changes a bit, and my body was not loving the amount of milk that I was taking in
Mm,
as a 30-year-old man.
okay.
And when they pour it, it's like you're drinking a full glass of milk, which is just mind-boggling to me.
Well, now let's jump to the early 20th century. Greece
Right.
is finding its footing after centuries under Ottoman rule, and part of that process involves rediscovering and redefining its cultural identity, including its food. Dishes and cooking techniques that have been shaped by Ottoman influence start getting reimagined in uniquely Greek ways. And out of that period of reinvention, we get the gyro. Now, although the concept of stacking meat was borrowed, the specific preparation of the Greek gyro was developed separately from Turkish doner in the 1920s and 1930s, largely among Greek and Armenian communities. Early versions were often made with pork, which is key because unlike Muslim-majority regions where pork is prohibited, Greece embraced it, making it a signature meat of the gyro. By the 1950s, the modern Greek-style gyro had cemented itself as a popular street food in Athens. Spit-roasted meat, usually pork or chicken, shaved thin, tucked into warm pita, and topped with red onion, tomato, and a generous blob of tzatziki, a cool, tangy yogurt sauce with garlic, cucumber, and dill. Simple, satisfying, and impossible to eat gracefully in public. Now, this version of the gyro is really the one that would cross the Atlantic and take root in the United States. But how it got here and how it evolved after landing, that's the next leg of the journey. Colin, before we get to that part, do you have any personal pro tips of eating foods in public that can get messy?
Oh my God. I actually just ruined like 3 new items of clothing because I stained them dripping a sandwich juice on them. God, a recommendation for eating messy food. I mean, I have noticed that my posture as I've gotten older has gotten so poor due to like, either like looking down at my computer screen or looking down at my phone. And
Yeah.
so when I look in the mirror at it from a side profile, I'm already kind of like my head is like inches in front of my body
Uh-huh.
already, like a turtle is. So I think I'm already kind of like prepped to eat a sandwich because if it
Oh,
falls, it's like not hitting any part of my body because my head is so much more forward than the rest of my infrastructure. But yeah, I would actually say like lean into the messiness. I
okay.
think like that is what eating a gyro, eating a sandwich, eating ice cream, like I do appreciate when people kind of lose the vanity and are
Mm.
just like, I'm eating something that is messy. So you know what? I'm gonna get messy with it. I think that's more fun and honestly more attractive when people do it.
Okay. So
Yeah,
embrace it then. Like
I
just
think
just
so.
go for it, have fun, toss the ego aside, get the food on the face and the shirt and just have a party.
Everywhere. Yeah.
I love it. Okay,
Love it.
excellent pro tip. Don't try and do anything crazy. Just maybe practice those neck extension exercises and
Yeah.
then embrace all the rest.
100%. Why not?
Well, by the 1960s and 70s, waves of Greek immigrants were arriving in the US, many fleeing political unrest, economic hardship, and the military dictatorship that affected Greece from 1967 to 1974. With existing Greek neighborhoods in cities like New York and Chicago, and US immigration policy like the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 opening new doors, many found opportunity and familiarity in food. Diner counters, sandwich shops, and street carts became natural extensions of home, and the gyro? A perfect bite of tradition adapted for the American hustle. Picture this. It's the early 1970s in Chicago. In the back of a Greek diner, a cook is painstakingly hand-packing spiced lamb onto a vertical spit, layer by layer. It takes nearly half an hour to build one cone, and that's before it hits the grill. Now, fast forward just a few years, and it's like stepping inside an infomercial that was never made. Here's the scene. An exhausted cook sweating in the kitchen, taking forever to build this cone. But who has time for that when all you want is a gyro now? A glittery, sweeping transition reveals a revolutionized version. That same gyro cone, it's now being made in 1 minute, perfectly packed, flash frozen, and shipped by the truckload to restaurants across the country. Introducing industrial gyros. Order now! And the meat also started to shift. Pork was swapped out for beef and lamb blends, mostly for cost and availability reasons. Colin, today we see lots of new tech. We have
Mhm.
new, we have improved. Are there any things, though, in your life that you prefer the old fashioned way or things that you refuse to upgrade?
Yes, I refuse to read a book on like a Nook or a Kindle.
Okay.
I'm very much like a have it in my hands kind of a person.
Hmm.
And I know that's like a not as like new technology, but I do think it's fun to know where you are in a book. I love flipping a page. I love the feel of it. I love even books like that are really small and tiny. Like a lot of Kurt Vonnegut's books are like you're able to put it in like your back pocket or like your shirt pocket. That to me, it means something. I feel like the being able to feel that, because I feel like a lot of what technology does is removes the literal physical barrier. And so to me, it's fun to always have a book on hand. You get to trade books with people. I love going into my friends' apartments and like scanning their books and like picking one from their little library and taking it with them. So I don't think I will ever read a book on a screen.
Oh, that's very charming. I love that. And I think you're certainly not alone in that. I think a lot of people enjoy that kind of tactile experience too. When it comes to maybe saving your place, are you more of like a rabbit ear folder, or do you have a bookmark that you use?
I had a friend who I actually live with, and they gave me this great recommendation, which is that their bookmark is whatever kind of is going on in their life at the moment. So whether it's like a receipt from a movie, a ticket they bought, or a piece of scrap that they found on the ground while they were walking, and then they keep it in that book when they're done, so that if they ever go back to the book or if they give it to somebody, they can find the bookmark. And it's kind of also holding that like memory of time of when you read it in your life, so you can kind of reference, oh yeah, I was reading that when I was at this point in my life. So I think that that's fun.
That's so cute. Like a little time capsule
Yeah,
within the book itself.
I think so, yeah.
Well, at the heart of this meat fueled revolution were two Chicago based powerhouses, Kronos Foods and Olympia Foods. Kronos, founded in 1975 by Chris Tamaris, wasn't just making gyro meat, they were engineering a Greek American empire. By the early 2000s, Kronos was producing out of a massive 200,000 square foot facility. Colin, do you want to take a guess of how many pounds of gyro meat they were producing a day?
Pounds per day. I'm gonna say like 15,000.
15,000. Okay, well, by Price is Right rules, you would win, but this might just blow your mind. It's actually about 100,000 pounds of gyro meat per day.
Oh my God.
hmm Their signature was the uniform seasoned rotisserie ready cone made and frozen for transport, no 30-minute hand assembly required. Olympia Foods, founded just a few years earlier by brothers Andre and Kostas Papantoniou, was doing something very similar, building a modern USDA compliant food facility to churn out gyro cones that were engineered for uniformity. Between the two, they cracked the code for mass producing a once niche street food and getting it into tens of thousands of restaurants nationwide. The gyro became a staple of Greek American diners, food trucks, and corner joints, especially in urban neighborhoods where you could grab one hot, fast, and cheap after a long shift or a longer night. And yes, we're still talking about gyros. And it wasn't just diners and mom and pop spots. Kronos began supplying to national chains like Arby's, Quiznos, and Potbelly, developing flame-broiled gyro slices ready to heat, slap on a pita, and call it lunch. Gyros were no longer exotic, they were drive-through accessible. In a way, these companies did for gyros what Nabisco did for cookies. They scaled something handmade into something mass marketable without completely losing the soul of the original. By the 2010s, Kronos and Olympia were pushing Mediterranean flavors far beyond the gyro: tzatziki, hummus, falafel, even plant-based versions of their classics. But their legacy started with one spinning cone of meat. Without them, the gyro might have stayed a regional delicacy. Instead, it became a $70 million a year staple, a regular on lunch menus from around the country, and a symbol of how immigrant food, frozen innovation, and American appetite collided in the best possible way. Colin, are there any foods that are mass produced and any that you unapologetically love?
Ooh, okay. I would say there is something about I can't remember the name, but like some people will know who listen, is the Trader Joe's like orange chicken really
Okay.
hits for me. I think it's so good. And I
Okay.
don't know what it is about it, because it's like it's in a bag, you're dumping out like a bunch of frozen chicken, and then the sauce comes in like a plastic bag. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm sure there's like, mountains of microplastics in there. And then you're dumping the sauce onto the chicken. So it's like it's totally made for you and you're just heating it up. But I think it is so good. And there was a while where like that was a staple meal for in my life, where it would be like I'd either cook it on Monday or Tuesday and then have the leftovers Wednesday or Thursday. But that was like how I was getting my protein.
Listen, get it how you can.
I'll give you one more, which is fast food, but I do like some copywriting for McDonald's, and so I've been in the know of McDonald's more so.
Oh,
But I've always been a fan of their McGriddle. To me, their McGriddle, which is like, for those who don't know what it is like basically like two pancake patties that would substitute for what would be like an English muffin. And inside is like bits of syrup, and then in the middle is a sausage patty. And to me, that is like heaven. I had a few friends growing up in high school who would like their photo for me on their phone was a McGriddle because I loved it so much.
you were synonymous. Now, being such an insider, do you get like any perks? Do they throw a free McGriddle your way every now and again, or?
Anytime that we need to like use a food item from the menu, we'll
Uh-huh.
just get it comped. But no, I don't get all the perks that you would hope I get. Maybe one day.
Yes, we'll just have to copy this soundbite and get it circulating
Yeah,
and start a petition. McGriddles for life for Colin.
please. And then also a gym membership at the same time.
Okay, yeah, we could do. Listen, you got to shoot your shot. Let's get
Gotta
both
balance it
going.
out.
Let's circulate those two at the same time and let's see what pans out.
There you go.
So, what about now? Where does the euro stand today? Well, it's everywhere. At 2 a.m. in Manhattan, you'll stumble across a cart slicing lamb off a spit or a euro wrap. And in Athens, it's still a street food royalty, no frills, no nonsense. Parthenon Gyros in Madison, Wisconsin, operating since 1972, is a family-owned restaurant that's one of the few that still hand makes gyro meat and tzatziki. The restaurant claims it's served millions of gyros, and it's considered one of America's best house-made gyros. If you're in Chicago, fans have named places like Mr. Greek Gyros in Greektown, Windy City Gyros in Lakeview, and the Athenian Room in Lincoln Park among the best gyro spots. Others, such as Hubs, Zeus, and Papa Chris, are also local icons for their generous portions and sauces. And yes, people still argue about what makes a gyro authentic. Is it lamb? Is it pork? Pita or flatbread? Fries inside or on the side? There's even debate around what counts as a gyro versus what's just a wrap. Some culinary purists argue that only hand-stacked meat on a rotisserie counts, and anything from a preformed cone is just a cheap imitation. Of course, the moment you try to define authenticity in food, you'll find yourself tangled in history, politics, migration, religion, economics, and a lot of headaches. But here's the beautiful thing. Gyros have adapted, flexed, and kept spinning. Today, you'll find plant-based gyros and gluten-free pita options. Food travels, ideas cross borders, techniques get shared, flavors get remixed. What started as a vertical spit roast in the Ottoman Empire became a symbol of Greek national pride and brought over as an American fast food favorite. The gyro isn't stuck in time. It changes with its people. It's an edible document of where we've been, what we've brought with us, and how we choose to feed each other. Most importantly, some things are just delicious, and that's reason enough to keep the spit turning. Colin, what do you think about the backstory of the gyro?
I'm so impressed, to be honest. I'm actually watching a show right now called CNN's The Decades, which I can't stop talking about, if
Oh,
anybody knows what it is. And it talks about like moments in American history throughout the decades, but it talks about not necessarily what happened, but why it happened and why the cultural shift took place. And so this was such a cool insight into how the Euros, I guess, not graduated, but moved from Europe over to America and kind of how it changed here. And some of those restaurants you listed off in Chicago, I've been to. Shout out Windy City Gyros. I
hey.
used to live right by there, and I would have many a nights where I stopped in.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I have not had the opportunity to frequent any of these spots, but it's good to know that you can give your stamp of approval on at least one of them too.
Yeah, totally. It's also so interesting. I didn't know. I never really, I guess, questioned why it was on a vertical spit. But that makes sense that it's like the juices were then dripping down into the lower parts of the meat. So is that where then, I guess, do you want the meat on the lower end of the pole or of the spit? Is that like the goal?
Ooh, right? Like the prized piece. Well, I
Yeah.
think so. Truth be told, not that I'm embarrassed. So I'm vegetarian. So I don't have a lot of experience with gyros myself. But from what I have gleaned from watching, is that typically I would say, and anybody drop a comment, builds engagement if I'm wrong. But when they kind of carving it, I think if you tell me, I don't know if you've noticed this, it kind of goes from top to bottom. So
Yeah.
presumably, like you're getting,
You're getting a bit of
an
it all.
equal distribution
Yeah.
of the juices versus like just people being like, just give me the bottom only, and I don't
Yeah.
know, like cheating. But I don't know, maybe if you become a regular somewhere and they just know you, I'm sure you can maybe ask for anything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
yeah. I haven't had a good gyro in a bit, so I will definitely make my way over there. I used to eat them all the time in college, all the time in high school, all the time in middle school with my mom. And then I studied abroad in Sydney, Australia, and they, oh man, and if somebody's in Sydney and wants to correct me, please do.
okay.
In Sydney, they call them kebabs, but
Uh-huh.
it was like, I kept being like, is there gyro meat in there? Because like it tastes like a gyro, but you're calling it a kebab. And I did it. And to me, a kebab maybe meant something different in America.
Maybe they have individual names, or maybe it's just, you know, kind of colloquially referred to
Yeah.
as that. But it's the same kind of like charm and fun, I think, in a different context of like just even Australian words for certain things, which I'm sure you could attest to. Like there had to have been words that you're like, wait, you call that what? And
Yeah.
I can't think of necessarily any for, I've not been to Australia, but just even in England, we'll say trash, or garbage, they'll call it a bin. We say aluminum, they say aluminium. Like we call
Yeah, they know their
them
little slang.
zucchini. Yeah, it's like exactly. So like
Totally.
different words. So I'm thinking
Yeah.
it's kind of in that territory.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, and to bring it back to McDonald's, they call McDonald's Macca's there.
What is it? Macca's?
Macca's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is interesting. And that's my Chicago. I'm probably putting a little bit of the Chicago spin on that word too.
Oh,
I could
exotic.
hear my hard A when I said that.
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't know the difference because I've not heard an Australian person call it that before. People will refer to it in different ways. So I guess
Yeah.
you have to just be like one of the cool kids in the know to know, and not just call it like, I guess, what do we call, like, do people still call it Mickey D's here? Is that still a thing, or is that very
You
old
know what?
school?
Not many people do,
Should
which
it
is
like
well,
come
at
back?
least I know. I used to call it Mickey D's, but yeah, in the conversations that we're having with fans, I don't hear as many consumers referring to McDonald's as Mickey D's as I thought they maybe would.
Maybe it's time for like what is it, like Y2K is very much like having a second comeback now. Maybe we
Yes,
try to also, okay, so what do we have to do? We have to get baristas to stop giving you
less
so
milk.
much milk. Yep, we're gonna get McDonald's to give you a lifetime supply, or at
Mhm.
least a year. But we're going big, of the McGriddles and a gym membership.
Gym membership.
Yeah, we're gonna bring Mickey D's back. Okay,
Work to do.
yeah, we got some work, but like this is like it's a good list, and with lots of
Yeah,
reward at the end. I feel it.
I think so.
Well, with a food this popular, it's also landed itself in pop culture. In the 1990s animated series Hercules, one episode humorously features Euro World, a fast food stand where Hercules is assigned to work. Hubs, which we previously mentioned as a Chicago destination, inspired a 1993 SNL sketch about its The Juice Gyros. In 2013, at the Euro Eating Championship during the Houston Greek Festival, competitive eater Joey Chestnut of Nathan's Hot Dog fame won the title of Euro Hero for setting a record by consuming gyros in 10 minutes. Colin, can you guess how many gyros he ate in those 10 minutes?
Oh my God, was it? But it was in like the full form with like the pita and the in 10. I mean, those are big. Those aren't hot dogs. So
Right.
I would say in 10 minutes. That's a lot of time too, though. I'm gonna say he had 20 euros.
Ooh, you are good. You are so in that ballpark. He went a little bit over for extra credit. So
Okay.
he actually ate 22 and a quarter
Oh,
euros.
okay.
It's just like
Oh,
a lot of euros.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
In 2017, Luke Bryan and Jimmy Fallon's song, I Don't Know How to Pronounce Euro, featured on The Tonight Show, goes through all the embarrassment of not knowing how to pronounce the food and hesitations in ordering it because of that. Recently closed, Papa Christo's in Los Angeles was a family-run Greek eatery since 1948, featured in My Big Fat Greek Wedding and its spin-off series. Famous for its food, including their gyros, they even went viral with a commercial featuring rapper Ja Rule through the TBS reality show Celebrity Show Off during the early pandemic to help keep business alive.
It make you want to slap your mama. Pop Christo's got the best gyros you ever ate in your life. So good. Take one think to you got to have pitas. Pitas! Pop Cristo pitas! They got everything. I'm going to just give you a rundown of some of my favorites. They got tzatziki. Hold on. Octopi tequila. Well, whatever. But it's good. Abolamano soup. Carpita. And they got wine too. I'm telling you, come on down to Papa Cristo's. You can't even pronounce the food. It's so goddamn good. Show them what you're working with, Papa. Show them how you do it.
Hey, Papa, hey, where are you? Papa Cristo, are you here? Papa Cristo, are you here?
Come on down to Papa Cristo's.
I hope he did that for free.
What did you think of that commercial?
That was incredible. I mean, hilarious that for those, if anybody wants to watch it themselves, they can, but the address of the restaurant is like listed on the screen and he does fully say it wrong.
Yeah. Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah, I've watched it multiple times now, and it makes me laugh every single time. He just brings such raw, authentic energy to it. And
he does, actually. I was actually going to say that even though it's an insane ad, someone who sometimes has to think in an ad space, I will say that the authenticity of it was like, you know what? I think he actually loves this place so much that he asked them to do the commercial.
I mean, listen, if I was anywhere in the vicinity, I would definitely go there just because of that video, for sure.
Of course.
Well, and also National Gyro Day is September 1st. Is that something you've been celebrating?
It is not. You know what? Actually, I do think that like, in high school, how they always tell you about whatever day it is in like history class or something, or on the announcements, they're like, today is blank day. I think they used to do that in my high school. They would say like, today is Gyro Day. And so then my sister or my mom and I would be like, all right, let's go get gyros. That's so funny that you said that. Yeah, that just triggered my memory that we would get gyros on Gyro Day.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well,
or Greek Day, whatever it was. Yeah.
Mark the calendar then, and maybe give mom a call, get a gyro. Becomes a very full circle, beautiful moment.
Sweet. Oh, that's awesome.
Colin, are there any other moments within pop culture that you can think of where the gyro made its mark, or any final words that you have about your favorite food?
Oh my God. Well, when you were going over the pop culture of how the gyro has been embedded in it, it did make me think of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which like I love that movie. And the lead actress in that film as well is from Second City. And that's kind of where I started to get my start. And so it's been very cool to see her career take off in that way. And for that film, which felt so prominent at the time, I mean, that was like early aughts, I think is when that film came out. The fact that they made that into like a franchise was so interesting. And I guess like apparent how much people wanted to get a taste of that culture and of that type of comedy. And for gyros to be a part of that is funny to me. But yeah, I love them so much. I continue to love them, and I will always be hunting for a good gyro spot wherever I live. It's kind of in the same way where like you're looking for your coffee shop. Is it around the corner? Who's your favorite barista? I do feel that way about gyros. And so if anybody has any in North Brooklyn that they are like, you got to try this, please let me know.
I want you to find your place. I really do.
I do too.
Well, Colin, thank you so much for sharing your love of gyros and helping me to tell their story.
Thank you. It was so insightful. I'm so excited to listen back to it.
Thanks for watching. You can find links and more info in the description below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. See you next time.